around, especially when you're not mobile, and all of those things. It was plus the processes we were using. I remember sometimes I was working in a particular place, and then the modus operandi was that you get to write with your hands, then you take to the typist types and prints and bring to you, then you edit, and then the typist takes it back and make the correction and print and bring back again, and then you have to edit again, and all of that. It was not a good experience. And I remember working in a particular law firm where when we come back from court in the evening, because we've been to different courts, there is in the afternoon rather, there's this session of coming to copy diaries. Imagine me coming all the way from Ibadan. I left Lagos 5 a.m. to be in court in Ibadan, and then I get back to Lagos by 5 p.m. and I have to go to the office and start copying the diaries of people who went to Shagam, people who were at Ikoyi and everywhere. I just felt we could do these things better. The other challenge we had was that those things had a lot of effect on us, and it was making the work so tedious and so frustrating. But then coming to look at it, there were a lot of these things. And another part of it that really frustrated me was the research part, where you have to go to the library, and then you have to start climbing ladders to pick up books, and many times you have to roll off your sleeve or come out of the library and your sleeves are all full with dust. So it's something that I just felt we can do this thing better. And then at some point, the last firm I worked before leaving to the firm I am now, I started trying to introduce some of this technology. I started using it on my own part, and it was making me a lot more productive. So I used it to introduce to a lot. I used that leverage to introduce these technologies to a lot of to other people in the firm, and we started working on it. In my own firm now, we're over 90% digitized, and 90% digitized means, well, COVID-19, yes, we couldn't go to court, we couldn't meet regulatory bodies, but then we didn't have, aside going to court and meeting regulatory bodies, we didn't have issues drafting contracts, reviewing contracts, advising our client, because we could work from anywhere. We were optimized for that already. But and that is why I think that a lot of other law firms, a lot of people are beginning to talk about it good enough. But then there's the problem of we not doing it the right way. If we don't do it the right way, we're going to have a lot of problems, and it's going to be very terrible. And if we don't use this opportunity to bring ourselves up to speed now, we may never have that opportunity again in a long time. So that's why I always talk about legal tech.
All right, thank you very much for that. Over the past 2-3 months, you've seen heavy transitions. So from practice directions being issued by various courts across multiple jurisdictions to the first, trial that was held in Bonu, that was on the 28th of April 2020, to the first virtual reading of a judgment by the Honorable Justice, in Ikeja, that was High Court 10, and she read the judgment, and everyone was on Zoom, and I was there live, and I was like, wow, these are very, very, very interesting times to be in. Yes, there's a lot of teething problems that may come along the way, but before we, begin to address some of those issues, it's important to actually gain knowledge, because basically knowledge will be the strength of these times that we currently are in. So my first question to you, Mordecai, is first of all, what is digitization? Somebody's seeing the flyer and like, okay, these tech people, they have come again, digitization of law firm processes. So what exactly is digitization, and what are some of the benefits that digitization can actually give to us as lawyers and owners of law firms?
Okay, digitization means basically moving operations to electronic platforms. We're used to, and then our profession has been here for very long, and we've been doing things in a particular way. I think, I don't know of any profession that is averse to change like us. We have a lot of records we use, we deal with records, we deal with processes and procedures and all of that. But then the process of doing all of these things has over the years been manual. For instance, we have what we call documentary evidence. Recently, we started talking about electronic evidence. And then most of the things we call electronic evidence are still but in paper form. So we're now looking at the digitization means now moving our operations from being manual, from being analog, to being digital, to being electronic, to doing things in electronic format. For instance, instead of using analog and hard copy documents, we now start using soft copy documents. Instead of having processes that instead of having to meet at a particular place to work, we are now able to work remotely. Instead of always climbing the shelves to pick books up the library, we can now, from the comfort of our computers and our laptops and our phones and any electronic device, do our research. That is making everything a lot easier. So digitization is all about moving from the analog system we are used to more digital systems.
Great. So what are some of the benefits that you can actually gain from actually moving most of your processes, to electronic platforms, from your communications, to your research, to storage? What are some of the benefits that you can actually gain by seeking to digitalize your processes?
The first benefit is that it improves productivity. Know that when you do these things, automate. I'm going to talk about automation later, but then it boosts productivity. For instance, the time it takes someone to write out a document, write out a brief, for instance, let me use that word, and then pass to the secretary, and then back to, and then the secretary has to type and print and bring to you to amend and edit and all of that. By the time processes are digitized, that some of those having to write and take to the secretary, that time is cut off. That process is cut off, and when that process is cut off, it means we now have a situation whereby we can say, okay, that time is now being saved and can be used for other things. So productivity, one. The second one is efficiency. Due to the way,
efficiency.
Yes, efficiency. Processes become more efficient. Things can be done in a more efficient manner. Third, collaboration becomes a lot easier. When you work in a firm that has more than one person, and you have a situation where many people are working on a particular file. One person has to, hey, I'm waiting for you to get done with that file. The other person is, I'm waiting for you to get done with that book so I can also take it. I want to look through that law report and all of that. Digitization means that everyone has access to these resources at the same time and can work on those things at the same time. And that is the beauty of it. It kinds of make collaboration a lot easier. So one person can be in a different city, another person can be in a different city, and we are all basically working on the same thing. You can all see the same thing. You cannot be looking through the same file at the same time while you are having your meeting or while you are having your discussions. So it's not a case of one person is waiting for another person to do this. And then another thing again, let's talk about the remote working. It becomes possible to work remotely. I used to wonder about the time we wasted in court. I served in a state where cases were called out of turn, and on the basis of seniority. And being a core member, I had to come to court before 9 a.m. and stay in court probably till around say sometimes 3, 4, and I'm in court doing nothing. But a digitized system means that I can utilize the time I'm waiting for the judge, the time I'm waiting for my case to be called. I can utilize it and do some other productive work. And then if I'm traveling, the time I spend on the flight, whether a 1-hour flight or the time I spend sitting in the airport waiting, it's time I can use for the firm's business. So that's another thing. It's efficiency, collaboration. And then another thing again, it saves cost. A lot of people think that this thing, the money you're going to spend, you're going to have to buy computers, you're going to have to buy softwares, and you're going to have to do all of that. But then if you look at it, it saves a lot of cost because, one, a firm that is digitized needs lesser office space. You're not needing a whole big room for just files alone. You don't need all your staff coming to the office at the same time. And for these reasons, it saves cost. Another um, another another benefit is employee monitoring. You can monitor your
Mm.
employees
Okay.
very well. You know, I remember when we were in our days as associates, we had these ways of always making our boss think you're working even when you're not working. And then it's
Mm.
difficult for the boss to find out because he just needs to see you at the time he's in the office or the time he sneaks into your office to watch. But then with
Exactly.
a digitized system and process, you can effectively monitor your employee from anywhere in the world, know what they are doing, know who is working on what and when.
Mm.
The other part of it is security. I want to imagine the building where law firm is housed gets raised down by fire, and their entire
Mm.
files are gone.
Wow. Yeah, that
What
happens.
do they do? But those kind of times is going to cost a lot of probably a, a luggage that's containing files that a council is supposed to use in another city gets missing in transit, or the airline people mishandle it and you can't find it. It becomes a huge problem. But with a digitized system, all of this, considering the number of backups you're going to have in using cloud technology, even when
Mm.
any of these things happen, even if all your computers get missing, even if your office gets razed to the ground, you don't lose anything.
You don't lose your files.
That's another thing, security. Another thing, I can go on and on and on and talk about the advantages.
Right. Okay,
Another
so let me stop. Can I stop you here and just address one of the key points that you have raised, particularly on productivity. So, like you gave an earlier experience and saying that, oh, there were times where after coming back from court, you still had to go to the office, you still had to pick your files. Now, of course, nobody is downplaying the fact that sometimes you would need some sort of physical structure to run your activities. But I want to address, or I want you to address particularly the issue of productivity. Now, there is a particular mindset, and I stand to be corrected. A lot of firms, a lot of principals, even lawyers themselves believe that if you are not sitting on your chair, you are not, your eyes are not glued to the laptop, or you are not actively holding the notebook and reading, you are not working. Okay, or you are not working, you're not doing something. So there is this mindset that everybody needs to clock in, you need to sign an attendance, you need to sign a register. There are some offices have CCTV cameras, just try to monitor and make sure that everybody's looking busy. And sometimes looking busy does not translate to being effective. Okay, so I can spend hours before my laptop, literally I may be on Facebook, and the moment I sense that my principal is about to walk by, I don't know, I was about to ask if you have done that before, raise your hands, but I won't do that, okay? Or your principal is about to walk by, you just swap your screen or something. There are some firms that have been able to inoculate systems that can actually track your internet activities. But the point I'm trying to make here is that physical presence does not translate to productivity. So I very much agree with you with the fact that sometimes digitization can actually make you more productive. For example, I have not had cause to do as much work activities, but I have found myself to be, I think, more productive in this period than even when, I was going back and forth, shuttling between courts and all that. So I totally agree with you in terms of particularly productivity, that most times, if you can leverage on digital platforms, we're getting so many comments. Thank you so much. You can keep dropping them so that could also help us engage. All right. So I totally agree with you that productivity actually can be enhanced. While waiting for a judgment, you don't have to wait to go back to the office to do your work. Take your pad, take your laptop, take your phone, and begin to read, get knowledge even while you are waiting for other cases to be called. So I totally agree with you, Mordecai. Thank you very much. So do you
Thank
have
you.
something else to add as regards, reasons or the benefits, particularly for digitization? Thank
Well,
you.
you spoke so much about productivity, and I think that's the key selling point for digitization. Um, it's very, very important. I also want to talk about the fact that some of the cost that we used to bear before, like the cost of moving documents around, the cost of sending documents, and all of
Mm.
that. You remember those times where you are doing an incorporation and a client is in the UK and you have
Yes.
to wait for the client to come back, or a transaction is ongoing. Digitization
Yes.
has made it possible for things like that not to matter again. For instance, I can't remember when last I had to print a letter, because we can basically sign these letters online and sign it with your own signature, not like some, you can sign these things
Copy.
with your signature, and in a very secure manner. And we're going to talk about that later, authentication and all of those things. They are part of the kind of security that is offered with digitization that makes this thing a lot more interesting. So by the time we're able to, you start utilizing that, you're going to see that the productivity level is going to be very high. And you spoke about people feeling like you have to be working, you have to look busy. And we've seen recently we started hearing people talking about, hey, lawyers, take care of your health, take care of your health. And I start wondering, how many things do lawyers do? How many things do? We just make ourselves look busy, like you said. A lot of these things we can reduce the stress by going digital and doing many of these things in a more productive way. So yes, I agree that digitization boosts productivity.
Okay, thank you very much. So what are some of the processes, tools, okay? So for one, for coming from my perspective, there was something you actually mentioned that I can resonate with, and I don't know how many of us may, have that understanding. So there is this particular software, Microsoft OneDrive, where you have series of laptops or computers linked to a server, and whatever documents you edit on your own system, everybody, as long as that person is connected to that server, will see the edits that you have done. I for one know that that has really, really helped in particularly synchronizing, editing documents. So maybe a document is sent for you to review, and maybe you are giving a group teamwork and everything. And then everybody can just, begin to impute their own ideas without having to go print the documents that the client sends to you by mail, print it in hard copy, then make your own corrections with Biro, then take it to the next person, then it goes round like that. But if everybody has a unified system that basically synchronizes all these processes, because they happen, they're actually tools like that. You get people that are able to, like you said, enhance productivity and everything. So what are some of these processes? Because I want us to be as practical as possible, all right? What are some of these processes that we can begin to use from today, to begin to transit properly, if we are going to actually transit at all?
Okay, I was speaking with Legal Nigeria on an Instagram chat 2 days ago, and I said something, which is something I believe. The tech world is ready for us. Everything you can imagine, everything you can think about that is needed for digitization is already there. It's out there. The tech people have done their job. They've been waiting for us for ages. Now, to start with, we have to talk about having a digitized process. How do you create electronic documents? There was a time when it used to be handwritten in the past. Briefs, pleadings, briefs were all handwritten. Then it came to the period of manual typewriters. If you go around court, you still see some people who were doing it from way back. They are still there. They don't know that the world has moved. And it came to that point. Now people type and print. Now we all understand that there are these word processing softwares. Everyone knows about word processing, but then there's more that can be done to it. For instance, collaboration. One thing that cloud technology brought to us is that it made it possible to collaborate on a project from remote locations. So different people can work on different things. There are a couple of those tools. Google Docs is one of them. If you're on Google, there's Google Docs. If you are there's OneDrive, there's Dropbox. There are many tools like that can be used for this kind of system. Then when you're done creating these documents, there's a need for the security of these documents, because when you start sending documents electronically, two things can happen. They can be intercepted by the wrong people, which means you need to secure it. And then the other party on the other side might edit this document and change it. Don't forget, when you're doing a contract, for instance, and then somebody chips in some kind of amendments after you are done with the contract. That's why people try to sign on each of the pages. But then even with that, people still go to, how do they call them? Is it these people that do signature forgery? They are very, in Lagos, I have forgotten the name they call them. But then we're having those kind of problems. So that is why digital authentication of documents come on. There are platforms you can now use to sign your document. And then you can invite everybody that is supposed to sign that document to also sign from wherever they are, any location they are. So
okay, let me hold your thoughts for that, because we have Charles Mekunye. Sorry, I hope I got that right. I'm so sorry. Pardon me if I didn't get that right. He says, please throw more light on digital authentication of signatures. I believe we are now on the process of discussing processes of digitalization. So he said, please throw more light on digital authentication of signatures.
Okay. Like I was saying, with this kind of systems, you're able to sign your signature and then lock the document. So if it's a contract situation where there are 3 parties to the contract, you get everybody to come on and sign their own part. Now, before anybody signs, to be sure that the right person is signing, there are many ways you can authenticate. There are 2-factor authentication. You can use photo authentication. You can use email authentication. You can even use one-time password authentication as a means to authenticate. There are a lot of tools that things like DocuSign, Signature It, and a whole lot of them that offer this kind of services that help you authenticate those documents you have created. The good thing about it is that once these documents have been signed, nobody can edit them again.
Wow, amazing.
And these are the kind of tools that are made available to make sure that these things can be done. So, like I was saying, I saw somebody talking about the CJs of the court adopting it. Yes, electronic signature was made available was made legal via the Evidence Act 2011. But then we have a little bit of problem, and then we may need to amend another law that came later for us to be able to do electronic signature with court processes and court documents. I'm not going to talk about that now. I'm not happy with that law. I don't know why it was done, because it took us way back from where the Evidence Act brought us. So that's one of it. So, but then that is the process of creating digital documents and authenticating them. There's also the process of digitizing existing hard copy documents. For instance, files you've been working on previously, you need to digitize them. That's going to require you getting scanners and scanning softwares. Those that process, there are some documents you just want to sign and leave in picture format. There are some that you need to put in machine readable format. Putting them in machine readable format is a whole more advanced way of scanning documents, which you have to do. But then when you're scanning them, it's not just to scan the documents. Don't forget that when you scan the documents and you keep them, accessing them is very, very important. Okay, Shegun Samuel, I'll talk about your question later. That's a copyright question, not a digitization question.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions and comments for me. Thank you.
I'll talk about it later. So, where was I? I was talking about scanning documents. Yes. When you scan those documents, there are ways you're supposed to catalog them. For instance, you're scanning a file that has a writ, statement of claim, 7 witness depositions, and then a whole lot of
list
of documents, and then probably that the statement of claim has been amended 3, 4, 5 times, and everything has to be in the file. You understand? Everything has to be in the file. So by the time you start scanning, you're not just scanning everything into one document. You're going to have to keep scanning each document as it is, and then cataloging them well to be sure, so that when someone picks the file, it is very, very easy for the person to go through to know what is this. Of course, you're going to have a schedule of content you're going to be putting tags, so that if I come on the computer and then I type a particular process, it just brings it out. If I type maybe statement of claim and I type the name of the case, it immediately brings out that document for me. And all of that, that's part of the digitization process, digitizing records. Then after that, there's also the law practice management system, the way we do we interact with clients, the way we assign tasks in the office, the way we manage client issues, client information. Don't forget that I am going to say at this point that security is very, very important. I think of everybody that play in this digital space, I don't think there's anyone who needs to keep documents whose security should be more important than us, because because for us, we have a legal duty to keep a lot of this information confidential. And you don't want to digitize and then tomorrow you start seeing all confidential information relating to your clients on
something like
site,
what happened
because
with
somebody,
Panama Papers.
yes, like the Panama Papers, where law firms were hacked, where a law firm was hacked, and then all their clients' information were out there for everybody. We don't want to see that. So in doing all of these things too, you need to consider the security aspect of it. Very, very important. For me, I think that the digitization journey, there are five parts of it. There's digitizing of firm records.
Okay. So could you please slow down, so that, because I believe a lot of people will be taking notes. So now what you're talking about is basically a pathway, to actually getting this process done. Awesome. Yeah. All right, so let's have it.
There's the digitization of firm records. That's going to include creating a system whereby you can now create your documents in digital format, sign your documents in digital format, and authenticate them in that way. Then secondly, there is the digitization of existing hard copy documents.
Okay.
Yes. So when you're done with that digitization process, there is now what we call the law practice management system. Okay. It's not, these things are not independent. You can start with, they are all going to happen together. The law practice management system is going to depend on, is going to contain things like client management, matters management, how do you manage your matters, tax assignment, billing of clients, and all of those things, generating invoices for clients, payment systems, and a whole of all those things that we do in the law office.
And that even activities within associates.
Yes, activity within associate. That's still part of tax management. The good thing with that is that the good part of that is. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. The good part of the whole law practice management system is that there are existing softwares out there that you can use. But then in choosing the softwares, it's another pot of kettle on its own, because you want to decide, are you going for a cloud-based software or a web-based software rather, or you want one that you can use offline. And then there are many considerations you are going to take. There are many things you are going to take into consideration. What's the security? How secure is this software?
Sorry, I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear you anymore.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes.
Okay. So these are some of the things that you need to determine when you're trying to choose a law practice management software. You need to know which of them. And when you choose it, you're going to know how do you deploy it. You have to be sure that your law practice management software is one that can integrate with third-party apps. You don't want to have a law practice management software that tells you they want to store your documents for you. No, you need to have your own storage system, and then allow your law practice management software integrate to it. Because the problem with keeping all of these things to one entity is that when they are down, you are down. So that's another thing. Then we also talk about remote working.
Okay, I am particularly interested in this topic.
Very, very important, because before we talk about remote working, let's talk about digital library.
All right.
When I was having a discussion with you, Rosemond, I told you it's possible to build your own digital library from scratch. As a matter of fact, they are open source tools that help you build your own digital library. And then there are thousands and thousands and thousands of law books that you can get for free to stock that library with. And I'm not talking about just articles. Yes, articles, but then well-researched scholarly textbooks on areas of law from around the world that you can get, case books and all of those things that you can get for free and stock your digital library with for a start. And then you can also, there are also many, and then there are also many places you can also buy hard copy books, so soft copy books. So instead of waiting for the time when you get to conferences before you can buy books, you can actually get these books. And then the best thing that happened to digital libraries is that a lot of publishers now have their own library system whereby you can just subscribe and sign up to. So you can sign your firm up to it. And once you sign your firm up to it, it means that every member of your firm or the people you designate can actually go on that site and do their research without necessarily having to buy that book. The advantage of it is that as much as you don't own the books, but then you have access to a lot of things. So as long as you are paying your subscription rate, you keep getting it. I'm sure every one of us here now knows of our own digital library projects in Nigeria, the law pavilions, the Legapedias,
and more recently NWLR.
LR online, yes, All Federation Weekly Law Report online. Those are digital libraries. For me, I think it's a lot easier to work with those things and than always having to climb the shelf and doing all of that. Then when you do that, when you have your processes digitized, you have your documents digitized, and you have
practice management system,
your law practice management and your digital library, then you are prepared to start full-fledged remote working. Remote working in the sense that you don't need your staff always coming to the office. And that's why I tell you that digitization can make you not need lesser office space. As a matter of fact, for solo practitioners and small firms, you don't even need to own an office, by the way, these days, because there are places you can actually, there are what they call workstations, that you can go, virtual offices where you just to receive processes and to hold meetings with clients when you can't do the meeting virtually. Those kind of places help you drive down cost and then increase profitability. So then the other part, one thing that you should also think about, I spoke about the importance of security. Security is very, very important because and then it's one thing that security has to do with, security considerations has to do with the kind of hardware you use, the kind of the phones, the tabs, the laptops, the computers you're going to be using. It's very important in relation to security issues, the softwares you're using, and then also the process you adopt. So that's why we tell people that when you want to make your choice of software, it doesn't matter how good it is. The first thing is the security consideration, because you don't want to be using a law practice management software and then on a particular date, everyone knows the schedule of your firm. Everyone is able to get the notes you took while talking with a client, and everyone is able to get that. You don't want to do all of those things. So security is very, very important. Security considerations.
Yes.
So yes.
All right. Okay. So let me just today so that we can get a little bit of traction. You mentioned something which was very important for every lawyer. In fact, every law firm. You talked about the issue of confidentiality. You know, we handle clients' information. And of course, we have regulatory agencies such as, you know, the data protection agencies. Data protection has become, you know, like almost a home word now. So how should law firms in this, you know, trying to do all these things be, you know, compliant, comply with these regulations that deal with, you know, the acquisition and the keeping and the storage of client data, even in the process of digitalizing this process? Because I believe somebody even asked, can you edit already scanned documents? So some of these issues are things that you may never know. There may be landmines, by some of these regulatory agencies that one they step into. So what are some of the things that should be avoided, and how can persons trying to transit, comply with some of these regulations that currently exist?
Yes, of course. Privacy is very, very important. And before we started talking privacy, lawyers have always had the duty of confidentiality. So privacy should not be should not be something that is new to us, because the duty of confidentiality we have is even way more than what privacy laws are requiring. So you can't when you get information, you have to keep it. You can't disclose it. You can't use it for a particular purpose except what you are told. As a matter of fact, you can't even use it for your own advantage except with the prior permission. Those are the things that privacy law is trying to bring. But then our own code of conduct has already placed those things before us. So I don't think, as much as I think looking towards trying to be compliant with privacy laws and regulation is important, I think the duty of confidentiality that we have by virtue of our rules of professional conduct places a higher duty on us. But then that does not mean we're not going to not talk about privacy laws and regulations. For instance, you can't have a law firm, you digitize, and then you don't have a privacy policy. That is not possible. That must be. And then the privacy policy is going to determine, is not only about your, people think privacy policy is about the clients, about the customers. No, even your employees too. They are part of the information. So when we're talking about remote working, there's one aspect of one thing that makes remote working work perfectly is monitoring.
Okay.
You can work from anywhere, but then your boss can monitor you from anywhere as well. Your boss can know what you're doing at a particular time. Your boss can know where you are. Those are the things that remote working tools enable. But then also, that is where I think privacy should come in, because yes, you want to know what the employee is working on, what the associate is working on, what he's doing at each particular time. But then he has no business with you when he's off work. It should be none of your business how he spends his Friday night, whether he spends it sleeping, he spends it in a club or in a church. It's none of the employer's business. So of course, over monitoring of employees, it will invade their rights. But then during work hours, the good thing with remote working systems is that it allows you to clock in. For instance, if your clock-in time is 8 a.m., you clock in at 8 a.m., and then your clock out time is 5 p.m. It only monitors you between the period of your work. At the period after your work, every monitoring device on it is disabled. So that helps to, in a way. Of course, I can't say that every remote monitoring app works that way, but then there are some of those platforms that work that way. And that's why I'm saying that when you're also choosing the systems and the softwares you're going to use, you take all of these things into consideration, because if I don't want to be involved in a litigation or have to discuss a litigation where a law firm is being sued by an associate because the associate was being monitored at night, maybe, or on a Saturday when he was not supposed to be at work. So these things make it possible, but then the considerations are there, and that is why one thing that we always say is that it's very important that security is taken care of. You don't want to imagine what will happen. A lot of things can go wrong.
Zoom bombing
is the smallest problems you can think about. Just imagine imagine a situation where, the whole aspect of security is to ensure three things. One, confidentiality. Two, integrity. And three, availability. Confidentiality means making sure that only the people who these things matter to get access to them. Even when the records of a firm is digitized, it's not just digitize them and keep them there. There's still the part of creating access parts.
Access
Privilege system, yes. So not
Yes.
everybody, for instance, if when a file is digitized, well, every information about that client is in that file and everything is there. But then an intern who is in the firm does not need to know the details of the transaction between the parties. He might know what kind of transaction it was. He might know the kind of clauses that is needed, the checklist for preparing that kind of agreement, the things that are needed, the checklist for conducting due diligence. But he needs not
Yes.
know the full details of the transaction. An associate in the firm might need to know more than the intern and know about the transaction, but he needs not know
Yes.
how much the client is paying, how much he has paid and what has not been paid. Now, everything is contained in that file. How are you going to be sure that everybody only gets what is needed for them?
Mm.
And another thing again is, so that is one part of it. That's where the issue of creating access path and access control comes in.
Okay,
Because
can I
of,
say something at this point? Because you've mentioned there must be categories of persons who have access to certain kinds of information, which you've given an example. Now, in the course of this conversation, we've spoken about principals, partners, associates, clients, but we've not actually paid attention to the paralegals, the secretaries, because these are most of the persons that actually do most of the administrative work. They are the ones who serve letters, they are the ones who serve letters. They are the ones who, have to go to courts to get dates. They are the ones that have to go to client houses. Basically, like most of them thrive on moving up and down and trying to actually do some of the processes that the firms actually engage in. So what do you think? How should paralegals be indoctrinated into digitalization as well, so that they don't have issues with, okay, this is how to get this social document from this social software, this is the software that does this is the software that does that, and all that. So what role should paralegals or office assistants, litigation clerks, secretaries play in this digitization process?
okay, I would say that to start with, digitization is a firm-wide project. It's not the type that you send one or two persons to go learn and then just come back and then hope that this. Everyone has to be involved, from the paralegal to the secretaries and everyone to the office bailiffs, and everyone in the office has to be involved in this process, because it means that the things you used to do on hard copy paper before, most of the things we do is on paper. Now you have to do it on a screen. So everyone's role still remains, but then everybody needs to be carried along in this journey. For instance, most of the scanning of documents, for instance, is going to be done. The creation of digital records is going to be done by the paralegal. So the paralegal needs to understand how to navigate these things, how to do proper filing, how to have a proper filing system, and how to do all of those things. There are things that the paralegal must understand. And also, I was talking about the security aspect. They are the weakest link. And the reason why I say they are the weakest link is they are the ones who are imputing this, who are checking this to be sure it's in place, who are doing all of those things. So they have to be brought up to speed. They have to be trained as well as the lawyers are being trained. So it's not something that it's just lawyers will learn and then paralegal will remain where they were. If the paralegals are not on board with your digitization journey, then it's going to create a very frustrating effect.
Yes, I totally agree with you, because the truth is there has to be a cohesion of efforts. It would be quite unbearable where you have the principals so technologically driven, and then the associates are like, we are struggling, and the paralegals, so everything has to actually be in order. Another question that I have, so in the course of our conversation yesterday, and I was learning so much, my mind was blown away. You made a distinction between systems and processes. So what is the system and what is the process, so that we don't model these things together? Because from my understanding of some of the things you said, you've talked about the processes of actually going through this transition. What is the system, so that we get an understanding of that? Is there a difference between the two?
Okay, let's talk about digitization of records. The systems are the platforms and the softwares you're going to need to do it. But then the process is going to be how you choose to do it. Every firm's process is not going to be the same. Every firm might be using the same tools. For instance, somebody said that wrote that DocuSign is one of the most.
Best
So
platform for
is what I wouldn't say best, but one of the most commonly used. So let me say that taking DocuSign, for instance, if you come to on DocuSign, 10 firms, 2 different firms might be using it. But one of these firms might have an authentication process different from the other. So for instance, this firm might be using a two-factor system. The other might be using a 3-factor. So this one will say that, oh, this is how we do it. When it's time to sign, everyone signs together. This one can say, oh, the way we're going to do this, you can sign yours and send to us. Another person can say, oh, before people get to sign, there must be an OTP, one-time password used. Yeah. Some people may just want to use email authentication, like let's mail it to this person, and if he accesses it through that email, then it's fine. So it's all about, system is about getting the softwares and then the platforms you need. Process is about how internally you now choose to go through to carry out this task that you have to be doing on the digital process. Okay. For instance, for instance, you might say that you might have a process that allows anybody to upload documents to files. You might also have another one that has a case manager that approves whatever process is to be uploaded. So no process goes into that file except it is approved by this person. It's all a matter of choice and then how the firm wants to operate. But then what we advise is for firms to ensure that they are using the most secured means. You don't have to be you don't have to set a process that starts stifling your productivity. But then you also don't want to be too simplistic and then lose security.
Okay, I bet that's really good. So you've mentioned a lot of things, and I'm sure to the listener they'll be like, oh, there's so much to do, and I'm sure this is going to be very, very expensive. Can you give us an idea as to cost? What in terms of expense, all right? What are your ideas, or what are your thoughts, or what do you think? Are these processes expensive? These softwares you use them, how expensive, especially for those persons who are just starting out? You know, maybe big law firms will be able to afford all these systems and all that. But for small, medium law firms that are, you know, still trying to put things together, in terms of costs, you know, what are some of the advantages or what are some of the issues that may come up in terms of getting this system on board?
Well, I think it depends on what you're looking at. Of course, a law firm that has 20, 30 lawyers and then probably 10 paralegal, it's going to be a different ball game for them than a solo practitioner or a firm with just 5 people. But then I want to say that these things are not free. Just like setting up a traditional law firm is not free. You buy books. It doesn't come free. And whatever you do, you want to print documents, you buy paper, you buy ink, you buy printers.
Exactly, right?
You want to serve processes, you need a dispatch rider, it costs money. So these things are not free. So I am not going to tell anybody that by the time you go digital, your cost is going to come down. It's going to become non-existent. No. Yes, there are a lot of free tools that you can use, but then there are limitations to the free tools that are available. There are limitations to those free tools, and then depending on the kind of systems you need and the kind of systems you want to deploy, the cost varies. But what I would say is that it is not beyond what any lawyer can afford. And that is why one of the things we do at Digitize Law is that we assist people to make the right choices. We are not just telling you, okay, go into the market. If you go on Google, you may go on Google and then the first things you're going to see are going to be from the big companies that are looking at big firms, and then they give you see a price there, or you get a system that is not useful for you. if you're, for instance, if you're getting a law practice management software, I don't want to recommend any now. I would have spoken about the one we use in our firm, but then it depends on which you are using. There, for instance, there are the packages that include a lot of other things. If you're a solo practitioner, you don't need to get the HR package as part of your package. So that's going to reduce your cost, for instance. Or if you're just two in the firm, if you are, and then so it, for whatever purpose you need it, it's always affordable. For the solo practitioner, there are tools you can use. A solo practitioner is a lot easier. He can, and then anyhow, it is always very, very affordable. And considering that it's going to reduce your cost, it is so worth it. But then that's why we say that you should ask for professional advice. You should ask for advice from legal technology consultants before you launch into your digitization journey. If not, you might end up buying a lot of tools that you end up not needing, and then spending the money or buying the wrong tools that don't serve your purpose.
Okay, thank you so much. So you've spoken about law practice management, case management systems, task. Now, can you give us a little bit of exposition on tax management systems and scheduling and data management? So date management. Okay, for example, I recently came across a software. Of course, we are not trying to promote any product on this platform, but I know that there is a software that we use, and I know a lot of lawyers know that software, which basically synchronizes dates. So it's like a diary for everybody. So on that particular application, if you get a date in court and you're trying to get the next agenda, you can just write, okay, this suit between so and so person is coming up. You can just choose the calendar. Once you impute it in and synchronize with every other person on that platform, everybody sees the changes that you have made. So everybody's aware that the next adjourned date, is so date. So these are some of the systems that a lot of people don't know, but are actually very, very advantageous. Because you remember what you said, it's very frustrating having a diary, getting a diary like this, and then you're trying to put so many dates into it, and then some people are forgetting dates, some people are not attending court, some are forgetting that they wrote, some are remembering that they did not write, a lot of things like that. But if on the spot with your digital device, your phone, your iPad, whatever it is, you impute those dates on those systems, everybody in your firm or everybody who has access to that tree can be able to see the date. So these are some of the software that you can use, and I didn't pay for it. None of the members of my firm paid for this software. It's actually free, and these are some of the software that you can use. So there's so much that actually is available that we need to actually catch up with, because the world is really, really moving, and the sooner we move with them, the better. So can you please tell us about task management systems as well, and if you have any additional comments to what I said?
Okay, I wanted to say that the last time I used a hard copy diary was in 2017. And I've not owned any. I don't need it because I have everything well. Like I said, we're a digitized firm, largely digitized. And let me say something. Being digitized does not mean you're not going to see paper at all.
Of course.
You're still going to see a lot of papers around. But then it's just that, how do you work with these papers? So it's not like you're not going to see paper. It's just that you're going to deal with less and less and less and less paper. And by the way, you're going to save a lot more trees by using less and less papers. So talking about task management, it's not any different from the way we do it here. You come to the office in the morning. If you're a small firm, your boss calls every one of you on Monday and tells you do this, you handle this brief, you handle that, you handle that, you handle that. So everybody comes. But then the thing is, your boss needs to call you every time. He needs to call you and tell you, hey, you have to go for this, you have to go for that, you have to do this, you have to do that. And the problem is sometimes we mishear. The boss might forget he told this person to do this, or he might forget he did it. He might not have told anybody, and then he thinks he told somebody to do it. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of things there. There are a lot of things there left undone. But then with a good the task management is that the boss can wake up in the middle of the night, and as the spirit leads him, he can start assigning tasks to people. He assigns this task, and when his team members wake up without having to call them, everyone knows what they have to work on. You don't have to come to the office or wait for your boss to call you before you know what you have to work on. So it's that way everybody can know, the boss can know whether he has actually assigned this task or whether it is left undone. He knows what everybody is working on. He knows what the diary of everybody is like. He knows what this person is working on. He knows who is overworked and who needs more work. He knows who is making progress with his work and who is not making progress with his work. He knows who is clearing his desk faster and who is not clearing his desk faster. All of this can be done without actually calling anybody, because you can see these things, you can see what each person is doing, you can vet what they have done without actually having to have any physical contact with them or having to interview them. So you can also assign tasks. It's going, and then so that's what task management is all about. It makes it a lot easier. The firm knows what has to be done. It's all written out, and then it's assigned to each person in a way that it's clear to everybody, and everybody knows what role they can play, and everybody is able to render progress report in real time as it goes on. So that's basically what task management system does.
Great. That's amazing. Okay, can you also okay, so everyone, thank you for paying attention. I think we're about an hour into the webinar and we'll be closing very soon. However, we are still going to be, we have a few minutes, to go on. So please, you can drop your questions at this point if you have any suggestions. Thank you for as many persons that have been contributing so far. We acknowledge your statement. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat function, send in your questions, send in your contributions. Okay, just 3 things that we want to touch on before we go fully into what Digitize Law basically has to offer. Because I believe that your platform has basically been able to capture the entirety of this process and has the capacity to actually guide law firms, practitioners, individuals through digitalizing most of their law processes. So can you touch on the issues of digitalization in relation to bookkeeping, online management? Okay, all right. Okay, thank you very much. So I've seen a comment. I am aware that Mr. Bakoba is in the house. SCN, we are so grateful to have you. Thank you very much for being part of this. So I believe Monica just mentioned to me that he has a question. So we'd love to have your question, sir. Well, I haven't seen it in my box, so as soon as I see it, I'll raise the question. I'm so grateful. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. So can you just briefly touch on conflict management, bookkeeping, and online payments? Very briefly, because I know that those are integral processes in law firm management as well.
Conflict management. This is majorly a problem for big firms where one partner is out here trying to get a client, another partner is out there trying to get a client, and everybody is just out there because of the large number. You could get people who now have who somehow have conflicting. You know how conflict cases work, how conflict works in our. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, the way conflict systems work in law, you cannot take this brief because you are working for this person. You can't take this brief because you are working for this person. Law practice management systems that have good conflict helps you to have a good conflict check system, whereby you can know which client you have and which client you can take or cannot take. By the time you're trying to get a new client, for instance, you already have a database of your existing client, all on your law practice management system. And when the conflict check feature now helps you to be able to run this prospective client through all the clients you have to know if there's a likelihood of this client, of you taking this job, having a conflict with any of your existing clients. Now, sometimes it's possible to have those kind of, to take those jobs, and then along the line, when you start working, you discover that. But then a law practice management software helps you to pass through that procedure before accepting the brief in the first place.
Okay.
So that is what a conflict management system helps you do. And then bookkeeping on its part is just like we all need. Lawyers don't like bookkeeping, but we all care about our money. So it's an easy way that lets you track what is coming in, what is going out, what you're spending on each case. And then it's so good that you can, per each client, you can have this thing stated out per each client on this client's portal. You know, in a law practice management system, you're going to have each client having its own segment in your system. So you can write everything that has to do with the financials of that client, how much you're spending on that brief, how much you're doing, and how much the client is paying, how much billable hours you're logging for those who bill by the hours, and how much is left unpaid. All these things can be used as a means to but the law practice management system helps you have these things all in one place. So it now becomes easy when it's time to harmonize your bookkeeping at the end of the month. To pass through that, you can always harmonize these things together. So that's the bookkeeping part of a law management practice system. Then what's the third thing you asked about?
Payment.
Online payment, of course. Now online payment is the rave of the moment. People are no more collecting cash. I don't know how much cash people collect, but then payment can become an issue sometimes. Payment can really become an issue sometimes. And then the thing is, with that, you can always integrate ways of receiving your payment. For instance, of course, the way we do is you normally send out bank account details. But then sending out bank account details is becoming more and more insecure because with just your bank account details now, people can do a lot of things. So you now have this option now to get your payment without actually having to spread your bank account statement all around, your bank account details all around. So you can have a payment platform integrated to your law practice management system linked to your bank account, where you can just send a link to your client to just click and pay. So instead of you having to send out your information that could cause you problems, that could create a security issue for you, you can then use those payment platforms to receive your monies seamlessly. And then a lot of them, they don't, of course, they have their costs that come with them, but very negligible. And then some of them, for any payment you get, even if you're getting 100 billion naira, their transaction fee is picked at 2,000 naira. So it's and then when you even want to talk about international payment through the normal banking system can be a lot of headaches. You have to fill forms, you have to do this, you have to do that. So you can just send links, clickable links to your clients, your foreign clients who are going to be paying in, and then it will be easy for them to make those payments. Those things, it's possible to integrate those things into your law practice management system.
All right, that's amazing. Okay, so we have a question here. Thank you for asking your question. We don't take any questions for granted, so don't feel like, oh, okay, we've discussed it. You can still ask, okay? So this is from Uzoma O. Benjamin. Thank you for being here. And it says, my question is, what are the available tools at a law firm by two legal practitioners? What tools can they use effectively? And secondly, are there some of these tools that work offline, knowing that some jurisdictions, where some legal practitioners are lack internet facilities? So that's a question to you, sir. I believe so a part of it has been explained for this kind of answer.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Benjamin. When making your choice of tools, these are part of the things you consider. For instance, if I am in a place where I know that I have internet problems, and then I have to travel to another city to get I have to travel a little to get clear internet. I'm not going to be using all web-based platforms. I'm going to have to look for some offline platforms. And then it's still part of the choice you have to make. It's still part of the choice you have to make when choosing. It's still part of the consideration you make when choosing your tools. So if you're in a place where these things are, where you don't have stable internet, of course you have to be looking for offline tools that you can use offline and then update from time to time. But then the problem with the offline part is that you have to find time to always do your updates, to always do your integrations, so that you wouldn't stay offline for a month. And when something happens to that computer, the things that happen within the last 1 month has passed. I'm not, due to the paucity of time, we can't be discussing the individual tools that are needed now. And that is why we are having a masterclass coming up soon. It's a 4-day masterclass, actually. It's going to be online.
Yes.
And then in that masterclass...
Okay, there's no problem.
Can you hear me? In that masterclass, hello? Rosemond, can you hear me, please? Hello?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, so what are some of the things that Digitize Law basically offers to law firms?
Okay. We understand that COVID-19 made it very, 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 very necessary for us to do these things. And a lot of firms are trying to go this journey, but they're having difficulties doing it. And then, yes, I understand why they need to have difficulties. We're not tech people, and then going to choose tech tools is just like a person who has not driven a car before, now wants to buy a car. He knows he needs a car because he needs to go with it. He has not driven a car before. He does not know how to buy cars. Then he just take money and go somewhere and, hey, I want to buy a car. And then he just buys the car, takes the key. He has never driven before. He has no idea how to drive. It's going to be a disaster. So, but then those kind of people can get people who have been driving cars, know how to use these cars and everything. And then and then at the end of the day, those people can put them through, show them the way, and then they'll get it. So at Digitize Law, we are helping people understand. We are basically a legal tech consulting project. I like to call it a project because we want to help people understand the process. We want to help them understand the journey through the process. We want to help them choose the right tools. We want to help them set up the right systems. We want to help them know how to use these things. We want to help them know how to stay safe. So basically, we do 3 things. One, we provide consulting services, we provide training, and we provide support. For our consulting, we help you, we advise you on the tools you need, the things that you need to use, the things you need to buy, the kind of tools that are. If in our masterclass, you're going to be discussing individual tools, their features, and then we'll tell you which you should buy, from hardwares to softwares. We tell you what you need and what you should buy. And then in training, we train you how to use these things. It's not just to buy them, but how do you use them and how do you use them securely? Then for support, at the process, I can tell you that going digital is something that requires a lot of work, and sometimes firms are going to need extra hand. We are still lawyers. We are not tech people, and then at that point we render that hand. For instance, if you want to start setting up systems, you want to go buy the computers and smartphones that you need to do these things. We help you go through that journey. You want to do your scanning, you want to start creating your cloud storage platform. We help you do that. You want to do your scanning, you want to set up your law practice management system. We help you through the process. Yeah, and then one thing we do most importantly is security, because we understand how important security is. And before going into this, we've been doing a lot in cyber security. So we understand that, and then we help people to stay safe, to set up your security architecture and make sure that you're safe. So basically what we do is consulting, training, and support for law firms, legal departments, and courts.
Okay, that's amazing. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, So what basically are you offering? So let's just say we want to use your services, all right? We want you to come and help us do some things in law firms. So what exactly would you be offering in terms of trainings and some of the things that you have particularly mentioned?
Yes, when it comes to training, we are going to be, of course, in the consulting phase, we understand the needs of the particular firm, and then we help them choose the tools and the systems that are going to help them, and to also come up with a process that will help them um, make their digitization process smooth and then make them more productive. But then when it comes to training, it's the tools are not going to use themselves. The softwares are not going to upgrade themselves. People have to upgrade them. So our training process equips people to use this, and then it's not going to be all talk like we're doing in this webinar. It's going to be with these things in front of you and teaching you how to use them, dissecting them, telling you the security implications, and then the kind of results you should expect when using a particular tool and all of that. So our training sessions will help people to understand how to use these tools, which tools they should use, and how to use those tools. Rosemond, can you hear me? Rosemond.
We have some hands raised. Okay, so you have been asked for your contact, and then they asked when is the master class coming up?
The master class is coming up from the 9th to 12th of June 2020.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
And
that's amazing.
it's an online master class, and the registration link will be up and running by 12 midnight today.
Okay, that's great. So we can take advantage. So for those of us who have taken the time, spent more than an hour of your time, guys, I really appreciate this. Is there any concession for us? Okay, and then somebody else asked a question: would a law practice management system require an IT professional to maintain it, or can it be done without IT specialists? I think that's a very sound question. Thank you, Samuel.
Oh, well, yes, I think at some point you need an IT professional like this. Like I gave the example of someone going to buy a car, needing a car, and going to buy a car. Yes, for somebody who knows how it runs, it's not from the end user point of view. It's not something that's you need an IT specialist, but you need to be shown your way around to understand how to use those tools and how they work. Because if you want to do try and error, it's going to take you a very long time for you to come to know. Law practice management systems are broad. They are complex because a lot of things put into one, but then when you know how to use them, it's so at the initial stage you might need an IT specialist, or not IT specialist per se, but a legal technology consultant like Digitize Law to help you choose which tools you need, which of the tools will fit your particular need. And then you also need us to help you, show you how to use those tools. By the time you are able to choose the tools, and then you know how to use them, probably you just be needing us for routine security checks and nothing. But I think at this point, if you've not been using them before, you need us to help you
navigate the process.
Navigate the process, yes.
Okay, all right. So I believe that information about payments will be sent because I believe everyone who registered gets, we have your email. So I think whatever concessions that will be given will be sent by email if they take advantage of it. Is there a window period or something else that we should know?
Window period for
registrations, maybe early bird or something like that.
Well, of course, there's an early bird period, and then it's a pretty long period. But then we advise people to take advantage and register early. One of the things that's going to come with that masterclass is that we're going to be giving out a guide. Okay. Aside the fact that we're going to train you, the masterclass is a 5-module masterclass, and then we made it so that we're taking one module a day. And we're making it so intense and so broad that people are going to get a lot. That's why we're not pushing everything into one day, and then we are spreading it over the course of 4 days. So it's going to be very practical, and also we are going to be giving out a guide to digitizing law firm operation. It's going to be an ebook that's going to be rich. It's going to contain most of the things you're going to need, and then your firm can, if you attend it, your firm can always go back to it when you need to freshen up.
That's great. I can't wait. I've already booked my spot, so you have to keep my own space. Okay, so in the absence of any questions, let me see if there's one more questions. Thank you very much for being here. Okay, Abiola says thank you for hosting this session. Thank you for the insightful lecture. We're very grateful. Thank you so much for being here. We don't take your timing for granted, and we're about to round up. Thank you very much. Monica, I don't know if you have any last words.
Well, I'll say that this is the opportunity we have. Digitization is here to stay. We are going to go digital. We are going to enjoy it. Lawyers are going to have more time to themselves. Lawyers are not going to be having so much health problem related to too much work again. Associates are law practice is going to become much more profitable than it used to be, because we're going to be saving a lot of money, and then we are going to be making a lot more profit. And then most importantly, those who are going to digitize, they are going to be the lawyers of the future. There's no two way about it. Yeah. Those who are going to digitize, they're going to be the lawyers of the future. So I look forward to having this journey with every one of you.
Yes, some persons have asked for your contact. There's no problem. Once this webinar is over and we're able to put some things together, we'll send all the necessary information that you need to go on with the process. And for me, what I would just say as I round up is that there's a world of opportunities. Gone are the days where you sit into your little office and you try to break it till you make it. Now the world has stretched far and wide. From the window of your phone, you can have access to opportunities, internships, working across jurisdictions, even when you don't even have to move physically. So the world has really, really changed, and I am happy to be born in times like this. I don't know about you, but I personally am very excited, that I am in a dispensation like this where things are really changing. I would have never thought that I would live to see the day where a judge will deliver a ruling on Zoom, and I'm like, wow, that's incredible, So many things are happening. The sooner we begin to read the writings on the wall, the better for everyone, And I think everyone needs a mind shift. So if you are here, you are still struggling with the concept of trying to transit. I hope, and it's my desire, okay, that this webinar made things a little bit clear for you. And I'm sure if you sign into this masterclass, you get clearer. And even if you are not a law firm owner, you can be an asset to the law firm you currently work in. So you can say, yes, I attended this masterclass during the COVID-19 period, and I can show you how we no longer have issues receiving clients and all that. So I just want to say thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this journey with me. Thank you for registering. Thank you for signing up. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you so much, and I am so grateful for your comments and your recommendations. Thank you very much, and it's going to be a goodbye. Thank you, and see you soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you very much. Mr. Akbakwa says thank you. Says congratulations. We are so grateful. Thank you. I will send contacts definitely. Okay, there's no problem. Yes, the recordings are available. So this session is currently being recorded. So after the webinar, I can assure you we'll send the links to the recordings to you, and you can have them for your own personal consumption. So it's goodbye from here. Thank you very much. And I'm very grateful to be your host this afternoon. Have a very goodbye. Goodbye, Mordecai. See you very soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Goodbye.